Hello, everyone. I was in bed and I was looking at this Amala. I can't pronounce her last name, but I'm gonna spell it Ekpunobi. Yeah, she's talking about her account of what's going on in Los Angeles. Um, and she has three clips, and I'm going through all three clips in their entirety. Let's get into it.
Okay, guys, has it been a crazy time living in Los Angeles? I'm talking to you now from LA, where all these fires are taking place in Eaton, Sylmar, the Pacific Palisades. It's been absolutely insane. Thank you all for checking in on me, by the way. I'm doing fine. I'm about, 6 miles away from the fires that are taking place in the Palisades, and the worst we're dealing with here is just a lot of smoke and bad air quality in the air right now. It's been an unfortunate time, of course, for everybody who is dealing
And
with
this
this right now
problem is
in
still
Southern
going
California,
on.
in Los Angeles. We're going to show you some footage of the fires themselves. This first video is nuts, okay? It's from a plane that's getting a view of everything that's happening on the ground. Take a look here.
And when I'm able to get a tablet or a laptop, hopefully I can do the screen share so y'all can see this stuff as well.
The whole entire hills are on fire. Holy shit.
I gotta be honest, I didn't know how bad this was actually gonna be. I woke up yesterday and I went outside with my dogs and I was like, whoa, this feels like a pretty windy day. But I'm from Florida, where we're dealing with hurricane season and crazy, storm force winds all the time. So I didn't really think that much of it. I forgot to remind myself that I'm living somewhere where when you get winds like this, it's very easily the cause of fires. And all of these reports started popping up, and still I didn't recognize how big of an issue it actually was until I started going on social media and seeing video after video of people posting what they were experiencing, which leads us to our next video. These are, I think, two guys living in the Pacific
Damn, it's
Palisades
cold.
in a home that they were trying to protect from the fire. I don't know if they had placed water around this home, if they had some sort of irrigation system that they thought was going to work during this fire. But you will see as walls, literal walls of flames, are rising up around them and their house.
Ain't no way in hell I'd be in that damn house.
Just take a look at
Dude,
that.
ain't no way.
My ass would be the hell out of there
Damn
before, if I
right.
even saw a little flame in the yard, my ass would be gone.
Oh shit.
This doesn't even feel real.
Don't worry about that, dude.
Oh my goodness. And we watched all day as the evacuation areas and the areas for evacuation warnings just expanded and expanded and expanded. And luckily, I'm living in a place that doesn't have much vegetation. There's not a lot of greenery around me. So we're not close by any means to that. Although it's just harrowing to watch on these fire maps as they grow and grow and grow. Look at this house.
Ain't
Now,
no
these two
way.
guys do eventually end up
Damn, it's
abandoning this home, and who knows what's happened to it after. I know a few people who have lost homes so far, and of course there's going to be so much more news to come as thousands, tens of thousands of people have been evacuated from their residences, where they're working, where they're living. It's been just insane to watch. And of course, with these winds, the embers and the flames from these fires are just flying out much farther than anybody would expect them to. This is typically not the season for wildfires here in Los Angeles, so this has come as a shock to many. We'll show one more video just to set the scene here so you guys can get the scope of what people are seeing and experiencing. Just look at that. Oh my
It's
gosh.
like a wall of fire.
Now, I was not able to see any of this from my residence, but my sister, who lives in another part of LA, was able to see flames from her apartment, and you can just see them rising out of the sky. The smoke is insane, just all through the cloud, all through the sky. You can feel it in the air. Just absolutely shocking. And the amount of people that have lost their homes, their
Yeah.
livelihoods, and their businesses,
A lot of
their
people losing
neighborhoods where they
everything.
hang out, their schools, their parks, their pets, the animals that have been lost through all of this disaster is just so unfortunate. And of course, the question is going to come up: how has Los Angeles handled this? How has leadership in Los Angeles handled this? Could this have been prevented in any way, shape, or form? And if it couldn't have been, were we prepared to respond to a disaster like this?
And she's
much like
about to
the
answer all
know,
that.
California at large was not prepared. Los Angeles was not prepared. And it's going to lead to a big discussion. You know, our mayor here in Los Angeles, Karen Bass, was nowhere to be seen when these fires broke out. She was actually in Ghana at an event.
What?
And I think she's now, as of the time that we're filming this, which is in the afternoon of today, she has just landed back here in Los Angeles. Now, Karen Bass decided to cut the fire department budget not
Really,
too long
man?
ago. And we'll take a look at this. Boom. $17.6 million. Let's get that in full screen in case you need to see it. It was
Grade
the
A piece
second
of crap.
largest business budget cut that she approved. $17.6 million right before all of this ended up happening. And you're going to have to ask yourself, is there a way, you know, she could have known that something like this was going to happen? Were there concerns that something like this was going to happen? And absolutely there was. And it's unfortunate that these things do become political, and we're
And
going
here's
to
the
get into
thing.
politics and start talking about
They
maybe
knew
certain
about the drone and
politicians
the
that
water
blew the
issue
whistle
for
on the fact that
years.
something like this could
So why
happen,
the hell
and
did
other
they not
politicians that ignored
fix
them.
it?
But it's very much the case in what's happened here in Los Angeles. And while there's been thousands upon thousands of people affected, I also have to point out the area that's been impacted by these fires. These are some pretty wealthy people, not in all cases, but in several, when it comes to these fires, who have lost their livelihoods and lost their homes. And if you think there's not going to be people at your door, Karen Bass, letting you know that you've done something wrong here, I don't know what to tell you. She's getting ratioed to hell online right now. She posted this on X, said the impact of these fires and winds are devastating. I just got off the phone with the President of the United States and discussed an urgent path forward towards recovery for thousands of families impacted. Thank you, California Governor and Senator Alex Padilla, for your continued support of our city.
And Gavin
With a little
Newsom
video
is an
here
idiot.
of her working with Cal Fire, which everybody's doing their little photo op shoot that they do whenever these disasters happen, and I guess it's just par for the course when it comes to these things. But as I said, she's getting ratioed. The responses are interesting, to say the least. Somebody says recall vote incoming. How do you not have water in your fire hydrants? Which we're going to explain in a second. The frog of shame meme under this. Welcome back. How was Africa? People are asking her. You cut funding to the fire department by nearly $20 million in wasted taxpayer dollars traveling to Africa while your city burned. You should be recalled. And lastly, Bert says, nice of you to join us, Mayor. It's so interesting that, like, when these things happen, the people who are supposed to be in charge, who are supposed to be having a handle on the city, just happen to be somewhere else, and they're using your money to be somewhere else. And when you directly ask them, hey,
Sad
can you
but
use
true.
the money that I'm giving you, this city, this state, this government, to take care of me, to actually take care of me, they go, sure, you know, we'll start moving in that direction. And they'll move in the slowest pace you've ever seen, while 100-mile-per-hour winds are setting your city on fire. And we still don't know the exact source of these fires. It's going to be interesting to find out. I guess we'll wait around to see if we ever find an answer. There's many people speculating as to how these things happen, but we know that the winds that were taking place as these fires began were in no way a help to getting them stopped by any means. Now, speaking of California voters overwhelmingly voted, as you'll see here, to bring back the the billions of dollars that are used for this sort of like water fund, water bond, as they'll call it. And this was in 2014. Californians overwhelmingly voted to spend billions on water storage and reservoirs for a moment like this. Exactly. Now, Governor Gavin Newsom still has not built those. This was 2014, 11 years ago now. And now no water is coming out of the fire hydrants. And here's this out of LA Times. Have no Prop 1 water projects been built in California? The answer is no, but they are moving slowly. They're moving slowly, guys. We're gonna get some things done here, apparently. Now, speaking of no water being in these fire hydrants, in these reservoirs that could have very well been used to put out these fires, here's a clip from Fox 11 News of Rick Caruso, who you'll remember was in the running for leadership here in Los Angeles. Didn't end up winning there. Him talking about the lack of water.
It goes out, obviously, to the people with their homes, and I'm watching the small businesses around us go up in flames. This is people's livelihoods, so it's devastating. But what is most concerning to me is our first responders and our firefighters who are trying to battle this. There's no water in the Palisades. There's no water coming out of the fire hydrants. This is an absolute mismanagement by the city. Not the firefighters' fault, but it's by the city. And I got to be very honest, we've got a mayor that's out of the country, and we've got a city that's burning, and there's no resources to put out fires. So if you look at your pictures, you don't see the firefighters there because there's nothing they can do. And it looks like we're in a third world country here. And we've got a lot of tough questions that we need to ask the mayor and the city council and our representatives and the county representatives. Why didn't you work to mitigate this? What was your brush mitigation program? I heard you earlier talking about it's been dry because there hasn't been rain. That's not the biggest problem here. The brush up in these hills that are controlled by the city and the county, I would bet you that if they haven't been handled, mitigated, pruned, removed for probably 30 or 40 years. This was a disaster waiting to happen. And what's predictable is preventable. And who's paying the price are all of these people in their homes and their businesses tonight.
Yeah, he's absolutely right about that. The people end up paying the price for these like bureaucrats and city managers and administrators and leaders who end up doing absolutely nothing when their constituents are telling them exactly what needs to be done. And where Rick Caruso is talking about this as a businessman, a real estate developer who spent a lot of time here in Los Angeles, built many a business here in Los Angeles, he's seeing how the city is working and commenting on the lack of leadership and the lack of follow through on what is being asked for of these leaders. And he's not the only one. You guys can actually go and search up a clip of Donald J. Trump on Joe Rogan, and he's talking to Joe Rogan about California, about having visited, and about seeing the brush and this like dry foliage that Rick Caruso is referencing when he's on the news and saying somebody needs to come through and deal with it. Not only that, he expands to talk about the water issue here in Los Angeles, here in California, and to talk about how we need to fill our reservoirs and how we had deals working with other geographic locations in Canada to get water here to California so that we could deal with issues like this. Now, Donald J. Trump, of course, has hopped on Truth Social and made a statement about this. It's been shared by Elon Musk on X. We'll pull that up and read that for you now. Donald J. Trump says Governor Gavin Newsom, as he loves his nicknames for people, refused to sign the water restoration declaration put before him that would have allowed millions of gallons of water of excess rain and snow melt from the north to flow daily into many parts of California, including the areas that are currently burning in a virtually apocalyptic way. He wanted to protect an essentially worthless fish called a smelt by giving it less water. It didn't work, but didn't care about the people of California. Now the ultimate price is being paid. I will demand that this incompetent governor allow beautiful, clean, fresh water to flow into California. He is to blame for this on top of it all. No water for fire hydrants, not firefighting planes, a true disaster. And a large part of the reason that planes couldn't get in there as well is because of the airspace and these like strong, forceful winds that were flying
Damn, it
through
was
the
cold
area.
as
So
fuck.
this was just a wicked
Shit.
cocktail for the worst possible outcome for the people who are living in the areas affected by these fires that are continuing to grow. And now it seems that the winds are dying down, but our fire
I hope
departments
I
and our
just fall
firefighters are
asleep.
still struggling to get a hold and get control of these fires. And now we're going to shift our conversation to something that pops up when things go wrong and has been popping up in terms of natural disasters here in this country for quite some time, and it is DEI. And I want to go ahead and put out a disclaimer. This is no way, shape, or form me blaming firefighters and the men and women who are actively out there trying to do their jobs right now. They are saving lives. They are protecting people's property. They are trying to stop this wildfire from spreading any further. These are very valiant, brave men and women who are doing their jobs, and I hope doing their jobs correctly. But LA County, the LA Fire Department, they've all been moving in the direction of DEI, and they have been for quite some time, and they've been doing it very boldly. And we watched this in the hurricanes disasters that hit the southeast of the United States as FEMA and other operations were working on the ground. They emphasized DEI, not only within their organization and in how it was run, but in their treatment of people and who they helped. Now, I'm not making the same claim about LA County and the LA County firefighters, but I do want you to watch a video about their diversity, equity, and inclusion practices. Let's run it.
We are hosting our new employee orientation, and our focus is to teach our new employees for them to understand cultural competency, identify implicit and unconscious bias, and be aware of the importance of us having a diverse and inclusive workforce.
Diversity is important because the different people bring different lenses to their job, and those different ideas, those different lenses are important.
Hold on, let me pause this for a second. I'm gonna say this loud and clear. I don't give a damn what race you are. The only thing I care about is, can you get me out of a fire alive? Yes or no? Anything else besides that, I don't give two shits about.
Best practices for our industry.
We have people here from hazmat, we have dispatchers in the room, we have people that are responsible for financial management, we have our information management division, and also from human resources. So we have a variety of professionals that are receiving this training.
We teach people how to deal with conflict responsibly, how to have challenging conversations, break down stereotypes, and learn more about cultural competence.
Okay, pause there. Now, I know that the firefighting job is sort of an all-encompassing job. It's not just dealing with wildfires like what we're seeing right now in California, and there will be moments that you have cultural conflicts and you need to have uncomfortable conversations, but do we really need to spend this amount of time on diversity, equity, and inclusion? And what else could we have been doing with this time and with these resources that maybe could have been a little bit preventative with what we're dealing with right now? Could we have been clearing up some of that brush, some of that dry foliage that
Yeah, I would
led
think
to the
so.
wildfire that we're experiencing right now? Could we have been doing, I don't know, controlled fires? I don't know the ins
Damn
and
right.
outs of running a fire department. I don't know the ins and outs of how people prevent these things. I'm just giving my suggestions, and hopefully those of you with experience and those of you who know something about these subjects can fill me in down below and let me know if there's a better place to be funneling the time and resources that we're going into DEI.
To summon the damn
That's what I would like
drought.
to know. Now, here's another news clip out of ABC 7, where the LA Fire Department's first LGBTQ chief is brought about, and she decides
Who
that she's
cares?
also going to be pushing diversity, equity, and inclusion to the forefront.
Angeles Fire Department is launching its first ever Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau. It is dedicated to ensuring a
Who
fair and
cares?
equal workplace environment. Eyewitnesses.
And hold on. Let me chill out for a second. I'm not against gay people and any other person wanting to serve in the fire department. let me take that back. Um, I'm not against that, but if your only focus is on it's on a DEI instead of making sure whether the person is qualified or not, don't be just hiring people to check off a box, cause you're just defeating it defeats the purpose.
Reporter Christian Cordero is live in North Hollywood with more on what it entails and why it's necessary. Christian?
Ellen, Pauline, the discrepancies are stark even just on paper. The LEFD this year hired its first ever female chief, and it says so far this year 8% of its applicants have been women. That might sound like a small number, but it's actually twice the percentage of female firefighters currently in the department. Every day, the LAFD is called upon to respond to crises, and today it is taking a step to resolve one of its own. The department's first ever Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau will launch in January, 1 year since its first ever female fire chief, Kristen Crowley, was appointed.
So by creating this new bureau, our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Bureau, now we actually have the staff to do the work when it comes.
Okay, man, this is a waste of money if it doesn't produce a outcome that benefits the department and the community. Y'all just creating stuff just to be creating stuff. If they can save lives, then yes, it is a win. If not, you're wasting money and you're wasting time and you're wasting resources, man.
To doing a deep dive in regard to how we do business, how we take care of one another in the fire stations and in our work environment.
The plan is to do so by adding training and enforcing accountability. Calls for accountability have echoed for years. In 2021, women's advocacy groups, including one representing female firefighters, pushed for changes at the highest level, saying a system within the department exposes them to abuse, bullying, and a culture of intimidation and retaliation.
Okay. Who's going to be held accountable for this? Who's going to be held accountable for all the different points in which you could have been doing something and you weren't doing something? Who's going to be held accountable for the lack of water in reservoirs? Who's going to be held accountable for the waste on DEI trainings? And
talk about the drought.
Jump to the conclusion, well, this must be a problem with female firefighters then, or having a female fire chief. No. Don't get it twisted. It is not that at all. The issue is with the agenda. The issue is with where your time and resources are being spent. And the issue is with saying that there's never enough diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is what this specific fire chief had to say in this next clip. I kid you not, guys. I kid you not.
I'm super inspired.
She took time out of her already busy schedule to tell us about her vision for the department's future, one that includes a 3-year strategic plan to increase diversity.
People ask me, well, what number are you looking for? I said, I'm not looking for a number. It's never enough.
Out of 3,300 city firefighters, only 115 are women right now. She's already looking at ways to change that. She's quick to point out that doing so has a greater purpose, attracting the best and brightest for the job.
They feel included, they feel valued, and they feel part of a cohesive team.
The chief also checked.
I gotta pause this real quick. So you're more concerned about people feeling included, whether or not they can do the job. Is that what I'm hearing right now? Again, whether you gay, straight, whatever you want to be, do you. But only thing I care about is whether or not can you save my life, my friend's life, my neighbor's life, my family member's life, etc. If you are not able to save a life like you're supposed to be, you're in the wrong profession.
Another box when it comes to inclusivity and diversity at this department. She's a proud member of the LGBTQ community.
That just kind of opens the door of people that thought, I didn't even know that was an opportunity for me. I'm super...
Y'all, this is making my eye twitch. I don't know what else to say. You're doing a 3-year strategic plan about how to increase diversity, but not a 3-year strategic plan about how to decrease wildfires? Or maybe if you are doing the second plan that I just referenced, maybe we lead with that. Maybe we don't lead with the diversity, equity, inclusion.
Thank
I don't want
you.
to like be laughing and giggling because this is not something to laugh and giggle about. This is literally people losing their lives. Luckily, in this case, I think as of the reports I've seen this morning, only 2 people have lost their lives in these wildfires because of the handling and because of our ability to evacuate people and very quickly so. But they're losing their cars as they're being left on the street as they're evacuating. They're losing their homes.
You
They're
got
losing
burn
their
up
businesses,
homes,
their
burn
communities,
up
their
cars.
lives, their schools. It's just immense
And from
damage
what
that's
I'm
been done here.
hearing,
I can't imagine what it's like
you got
to watch everything
even
you've
a
ever
couple
known
burn up
be
skeletons.
set aflame, be set alight like this. Not to mention, okay, so we have multiple things here. The failure to have water, where firefighters are showing up and literally they don't have water in the fire hydrants. And the fact...
Now here's my question. How y'all got fire hydrants with no water? Make it make sense.
You could have solved this, but chose not to. I don't know, because of what? Political gameplay of some sort? The budget cuts from Karen Bass. The fact that she wasn't even here when all of this was going down. You have the diversity, equity, and inclusion that they've pushed forward to pander to, I don't know, women and people of color and LGBTQ plus people. But you also have what happened during COVID-19, which was the firing, termination, suspension, whatever you want to call it, of hundreds of Los Angeles firefighters. Why? Because they refuse to get the jab. They refuse the medical treatment that was being forced on them. And interestingly enough, this clip is now circulating online. And I was here. I was at this event where firefighters were protesting. In fact, I sang the national anthem at this event. So I saw this poster and I was like, wait a damn minute. I was here when this was happening in LA, and firefighters were coming forward and giving their testimony as to being fired from their jobs over the vaccine mandate.
After the worst time of COVID, after the largest, most deadly spike, downtrends in death, my employer, a governing body, is deciding to mandate a rushed vaccine. Not only that it will be mandated, but it's a condition of my employment. We've gone from essential frontline worker to next on the chopping block. I agree. Such times of uncertainty really force me to think and examine my surroundings. The job that I love, the job that I poured my heart and soul into is being threatened. Anything that gets put into my body is my choice.
Damn right.
I refuse. I do not comply. I've thought long and hard about this, and this has become my definitive line in the sand. And I know when I say this, I'm not alone. There are many more that feel this way, and they just might be scared or not know how to say it. Please understand this is worth fighting for. I won't quit. I will not stop fighting. I'm willing to sacrifice everything. My beliefs, my moral fiber, my family, my livelihood, the country that I love. Everything I've ever worked for in my life is being threatened. And that I will not sit idly by and take. I refuse.
There you go. I mean, we all saw that happen with our own eyes. So it's just like, oh my gosh, thing after thing after thing. It's like in these times of devastation and people going through hardship, you want to come together as a community. You want to do the work. You want to help these people rebuild. And I fully intend to do so as somebody who's living in Los Angeles right now and watching all of this happen on the periphery. But my goodness, if accountability does not exist on the other end of this, I don't know what to tell people. How much more of a list do you need of evidence as to how something like this takes place and how it becomes mismanaged? And it's not mismanaged by the brave people on the ground who are helping their fellow citizens, the firefighters who are just deployed to fight these at a moment's notice as they pop up. And at a time where they aren't expecting it whatsoever. When I tell you this is not the time of year for this, and we have not seen something like this with the conditions to set it forth like this in quite some time, it is truly unbelievable. It is not the fault of those people who are responding to this and wanting to do something better for their community, for humanity.
The government
It's the
fucked
fault of
up.
those
That's what
who
happened.
just put together
The government
different links
failed.
that lead to a catastrophic
Plain
event
and
like
simple.
this
Nothing more,
taking
nothing
place,
damn
and
less.
if we're calling for accountability in the sense of diversity, equity, inclusion, we damn well better call for accountability when it comes to something like this. And it requires us looking at leadership. It requires us looking at the agenda that informs their leadership and that they're pushing forward once they do become leaders. And we need to rewrite that a little bit. And if we see people who are responsible for the agenda that led to a tragedy like this, although I'm not placing full blame on them, I'm just saying we could have done a little bit better. Maybe we need to move those people out and make a change. And, we've tried in California time after time, I think, to have little shifts and change in leadership to no avail. But it looks like this is a massive wake-up call to maybe try again. And
I have another clip that
experiencing loss in this time,
I'm going to
their
now.
houses, communities, God forbid, family members, pets, animals, just craziness. My heart goes out to you, and hopefully, in the wake of all this, we'll come together, rebuild once again, make Los Angeles into the city that it should be, and safeguard ourselves from another catastrophe like this. Guys, those are my thoughts. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know where you are right now, where you're seeing this news, what you think about it. If you are a firefighter of some sort, Alright guys, we've been talking a lot about the Los Angeles fires on this channel, and there is so much going on, so many stories entangled in the much larger story. Of course, a lot of devastation and loss as people are watching their entire livelihoods being burned down, but also a lot of stupidity, bureaucracy, and failure when it comes to leadership here in this city. And of course, if we're going to talk about these fires, we have to talk about LAFD. Now, I'm going to show you a video that I think is going to blow your mind, and if it doesn't, I don't know what will. This is of an assistant chief. Her name is Christine Larson of LAFD, and she's talking about emphasizing the fact that she's a woman fire chief, and also how she would respond if she could not pull a man out of a fire.
Yeah, y'all gotta hear this bullshit.
That the city is experiencing with this entire disaster that is taking place here. But first, you have got to see this.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might...
Ma'am, respectfully, I'm not going to get too shit on what you look like. Again, can you get me in and out of the fire if I'm in a fire? Yes or no?
Understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
And then it closes out with only about 5% of working firefighters are women. You just made a great case for there being more.
And let's talk about that real quickly. Again, the only reason 5% are women, cause deep down, firefighting was never meant for women to do. I know it sounds sexist as all hell, but tell the truth and the devil, it is what it is.
What did I just hear? Because this video is only like 25 seconds, I'm gonna play it again because I have to make sure that we all get this in our brains, that we all get to experience this together just one more time.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
What?
So much to go over here. First of all,
what
in your life?
What? That is the most retarded bullshit I've ever heard in my damn life.
Have you ever been in an emergency of any kind where you need help and support from the people around you and hopefully professionals around you and thought, I hope they look like me? You know, if I'm calling EMS right now, I hope the person who shows up is a biracial female who's the same age as me who can understand my marginalized experience. No, never in my life have I thought that. And if you are somebody who's thinking that, I urge you to reevaluate, because these are not the metrics by which we should be judging people who are providing services to us, especially life-saving services like putting out.
We're not even halfway through the month yet. We're not even at MLK Day yet. And this year already, has quote unquote jumped the damn shark. Oh Lord.
Fires. Never in my life have I thought, I hope that there is a biracial lesbian who's putting out the fires right now in Los Angeles, because I feel like she's going to understand some part of my experience. Not a lesbian, I didn't just come out of the closet for this video. But let's keep talking and let's get serious here. Now, she goes on to talk about having to save a man in a fire, responding to a fire call where she has to carry a man out, clearly indicating that she's not capable of doing so. And she says, if I'm in the position where I have to carry a man...
See? This is why people say that firefighting is a job for the men, plain and simple.
And out of a fire, he's the one who put himself there? She's victim blaming men? Can you imagine anybody saying this about virtually any other thing? Just for a moment, imagine a police officer responding to a sexual assault victim and saying, you know, you got yourself in this position. It's not on me to have to get you out of it. You put yourself here. It's ridiculous. But because we care about diversity, equity, and inclusion, we allow this to go on, and we allow something like this to be said by an assistant fire chief in a city that is consistently experiencing wildfires. Please, make it make sense. And when you look into this woman's background, of course, you're going to find this. Now, this is out of the Daily Wire. Larson was a founding member of Equity on Fire. Of course, she was a founding member of Equity on Fire. Of course, she is somebody who cares deeply about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And she wants the firefighters to look like her and respond to the calls of people who look like her. But when she gets there and has an inability to do her job and she can't carry your husband out of the fire, I guess he's the one who put himself in that situation. He's the one that brought about this situation that he's now living in. Now, if a man calls in the middle of the LA wildfires that we're experiencing right now, did he put himself in that situation to be somebody who's needing to call the fire department to save his life, to save his house? Of course not. But this is what happens when we choose to just drop everything on the altar of diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Yep.
This is the world that we're going to be experiencing, and we've seen it time after time. And when you try to have the conversation and say, maybe this is not the direction that we need to move forward in, people call you out. They say that you're a racist. They say that you're blaming women and lesbians or LGBTQ plus people. And there's no greater example of this than what recently happened on CNN when one of their hosts, Scott Jennings, tries to broach the topic of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Let's see the clip.
And the fire departments and the firefighters in California. And the interest was that there were too many white men who were firefighters, and we need to have a program in California to make sure we don't have enough white men as firefighters. So we have DEI. And yet, I'm wondering now if your house is
sounds like The View.
What color the firefighters are.
You can respond, and listen. I am so tired. You know what? There was an article that just came out that said that actually the most educated demographic in this country right now is black women. So let me be clear.
And of course, Jasmine Crockett would say that bullshit. Want to be Jasmine Crockett?
Let me be crystal clear in giving a dumb argument to a statement that you just made that is totally valid about what we're experiencing right now. Let me throw out this random survey study that says that black women are the most educated in this country, which again has nothing to do with what he said. And if we're going to judge people on the basis of their education, which is not everything you need when it comes to being a firefighter, and we'll get to that in just a moment, then the metric you have for choosing people should be education, not whether or not they're black and they're female. But nonetheless, she throws out this fact as if it's just meant to be taken up, and it's meant to just sweep under the rug everything that we're experiencing in the city of Los Angeles right now. Make it make sense. And just so she knows, intelligence is not all you need when you're a firefighter. You need stamina, you need a brute force, you need a lot of strength, and sometimes women are capable of doing that job, and kudos to every single firefighter, male or female, that is out there right now fighting these fires in Los Angeles. You are brave, and we appreciate every single ounce of work that you are putting in right now in your underfunded, understaffed, and overworked departments. But we can talk about that a little later. Maybe I digress on that point. This does not substantiate diversity, equity, and inclusion being implemented all across the city of Los Angeles. But still, she's going to go on and make an argument for the practice. Let's keep watching.
Because you are a woman, or because I know that some of the right has been sharing these photos of the fact that I believe that the fire chief may be a woman or something, that has nothing to do with it. We are looking at qualifications. What diversity, equity, and inclusion has always been about is saying, you know what, open this up. Don't just look at the white men. Open it up and recognize that other people can be qualified. And the fact that we want to, at a time when people are dying, decide that a country of immigrants is failing, or people are dying because the same very people that built this country, because the last time I checked, y'all didn't say that anything was wrong with the White House, and I can promise you it was my ancestors that built the White House. So listen, if we have been good enough,
why does Jasmine always got derailed the conversation?
To serve and die overseas, we are good enough to serve in other ways. And the fact that people actually,
dude, his face is key at this point. Just sitting there, just duking it out. He's about to give a damn Jim in the Office look to the camera at this point, because what are you talking about? These emotional arguments about your blackness and slavery and the building of the United States and immigrants and the White House have nothing to do with the issues that we are experiencing right now in this city and in the United States, in the West at large, when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. And if you don't want this to be about being a woman or being black or being lesbian, as has been the case for the Los Angeles Fire Department, then take those things out and judge people based on their qualifications. And that's not what DEI is about. DEI is not about opening the playing field for all those who meet the standard. It is about giving preferential treatment to people of certain identity characteristics because we want more diversity. And we've heard it from the LAFD fire chief herself. We've clearly heard it from this assistant fire chief in the video that we just watched. It's important to see people who look like me. And when Scott Jennings says that comes at the burden of our entire city, all the residents in it, and of white men who also want these jobs, he is 100% correct. You don't believe me? Look up the stories of people who have tried to make it into the LAFD and have been rejected, and they can track it as being because of their race and because of the implementation of diversity, equity, and inclusion programs. Okay? But let's see if she has anything else to say that makes even an ounce of sense. Because so far we've heard nothing.
Decide that they want to engage in public service, whether it's sitting in Congress or whether it's serving on the fire department or the police department, should not be an issue. The fact is, stop trying to act as if only white men are the ones that are capable. Because right now you're sitting at a table with 3 very capable black women.
Oh my gosh. You could not get a worse representative for diversity, equity, and inclusion than this. Her very arguments are to me so telling that diversity, equity, inclusion is not the way to move forward. She has not made a single valid argument this entire time, and she speaks to her own capability as a black woman and the capability of the 2 other black women at the table around her, when her capabilities were never being called into question. But she's made it about herself, as so often these woke leftists do, because at the end of the day, it's about them and their identity. It's not about anybody else. And when Scott Jennings says this brings down white men, it brings down the residents who are experiencing these tragedies, he's 100% right. It's just an uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to hear at this moment. And it's not to label any group of a specific identity or racial characteristic as being incapable. It is just to say that identity characteristics in that racial group should not be brought in as a metric for judgment when we are trying to figure out your capabilities. And if the LAFD fire chiefs and assistant fire chiefs happen to be white women lesbians or biracial lesbians, and they're there because of their capabilities, by all means, I will cheer them on. But when you lead the conversation with saying I'm a woman and a lesbian, or I'm a biracial woman, lesbian, we've lost the plot a little bit. Lead with your capabilities then. And in the case of the fire chief that's getting a lot of flack online for having pushed diversity, equity, inclusion within the LAFD, I think she has like 22 years experience as both an engineer and a firefighter. Why don't you lead with that? And why are you more subservient to your own agenda and your own ideology than you are to your job and to helping the people of Los Angeles? Riddle me that.
I'm not. I'm just simply saying that as a matter of public policy in California, the main interest in the fire department lately has been in DEI programming and budget cuts, and now we have this massive
Are we really, but Scott, are we really blaming the fire department? The people in the LA fire department,
I'm blaming the Democrats who
no,
run
no,
the
no, no,
state.
but the fire department right now, they are dealing with a historic fire, okay?
And they have terrible leadership.
That is
Political
caused
leadership.
by climate, by the fact
I
that
don't know
it
that-
is
I don't know
extremely
that's
dry in the state of California, and they are fighting it in hurricane, tropical force winds in that state.
Just to clear the air, just to make sure nobody is confused here, Scott Jennings is not blaming firefighters who are in full force coming out to save the
People
lives
don't
of
damn
those who are
listen.
living here in Los Angeles. Nobody is blaming the fire department in
Damn, it's
itself.
cold.
We are pointing
Shit.
out structural issues. We are pointing out leadership issues. We are pointing out
Yeah.
ideologically based
Leadership
issues that
issues.
may have made this situation far worse than
Drought
it ever had
issues,
to
water
be.
issues,
And it is within city
etc.,
leadership, it's within
etc.
state leadership. It's even with federal leadership when it comes to the agendas that are just being injected
Oh,
into
and
every
state
single
leadership.
thing that we do, especially here in the
Cause-
city of Los Angeles. And these things are responsible. They play a part in the tragedy that hundreds of thousands of people.
Cause much as people like to talk crap about the mayor of LA, Gavin Newsom is a fuck up too.
Are now being subjected to. And a lot of this stuff could have been dealt with so much better had we been maybe laying the stones on a path towards, I don't know, common sense, logic, instead of wasting time and resources on DEI trainers and programs and hires for the LAFD. But if we're not able to have the conversation, nothing will get done. And it begs the question, you know, as hundreds of thousands of people are experiencing this in Los Angeles, are we learning our lesson? There's an argument to be made that after this, there's going to be a huge wave of support in the other direction, opposing
Very much.
DEI. And there has been brewing in this country a huge wave in that direction for quite some time. We witnessed it in the 2024 election. But is this enough? Can we bring out our boards and connect the dots enough to make the case that this ideology is no good, and especially no good for the city of Los Angeles, to where people will hear it, connect the dots themselves, and go, you know what, we need to move in a different direction.
Yeah.
Because this is not working right now. And we have totally capable leaders who are connecting the dots, pointing out different things that we can do within the fire department, with our infrastructure, with our handling of the city, with our water supply, that could dramatically change this in the future if we were to ever be met with a natural disaster like this one again. Are we ready to listen? And if not, what else do you need to happen before you wake up and realize that the powers that be in the city and the citizens that are upholding the hierarchy that exists with the powers that be, we're not doing the right thing? And maybe it's time for new leadership. And maybe that new leadership should not be focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion, because it hasn't done a whole hell of a lot for us. In fact, it's doing and bringing a lot of hell for us, literal hell for us, it seems, in Los Angeles. So something to marinate on, something to think about. And if you think that diversity, equity, inclusion is truly about bringing the best candidates regardless of race, then why don't we bring the best candidates regardless of race? And why do I have a video of the assistant fire chief literally saying she is incapable of pulling a man out of a fire, and it is his fault that she's incapable?
No, that's
Truly bringing
stupidity.
in the best candidates through diversity, equity, and inclusion. Maybe this is an outlier. And I know for sure this doesn't speak for all the other female firefighters that I have witnessed with my own eyes out here in Los Angeles.
The fire department needs an
What do
overhaul.
we do about that?
LA City Hall needs an
Let me
overhaul.
know in the comments down below.
In California, recall that damn governor. Good night.